Well, hello again. Some months ago, I released a video saying I wrote a book, and that was this one here called Hikikomori. The update is, as of the 15th of March, it's now published. In this video, I just want to do a little bit of a presentation recap about this book, because a lot of people have been asking me about why I wrote it. They didn't realize I wrote books, all this kind of idea. Although in the previous video, you can see about the other books I've written. And also, a lot of people have been asking me, what's this weird name, Hikikomori? Why Japan? What's going on? Who are you? And how the hell did we get here? So let's try and answer some of those questions. So before anything, I kind of should really do the elephant in the room thing. Englishman living in Spain, selling wine. Why Japan? So I've been obsessed with Japan ever since I was a little kid. I think it was probably watching samurai films like Seven Samurai when I was like 10 or 11 or something. It was always cool. It's always exotic. I'm not the first little English kid to find Japan and Asian stuff cool. So kung fu movies from China, samurai movies from Japan, later Korean movies, all that kind of stuff. It was interesting to me. And the architecture and the food, it's all really cool. Then, probably at university was when I first read Wind Up Bird Chronicle by Murakami, and that blew my friggin' mind. And so Japanese literature became a focal point of mine, which in recent years has become somewhat of a problem. I have a whole shelf full of Japanese books, for example. And then a lot later, so about 6 years ago, I finally visited Japan with my mate Steve, and the visit for like 3 weeks around Japan absolutely blew my mind. It is incredible. So my obsession was set. So I like Japan. I'm obsessed with Japan. Everyone has their obsessions. Mine happens to be a country on the other side of the planet. So then the story. What is this weird word hikikomori? What does it mean? Why did I write it? So I've always written, usually travel writing. I did about 10 years. If you go to my lukedarrowcott.com website, you'll see all the travel articles I wrote, some of which are published, some of which are just there. I've written a couple of books about Spain. Again, travel books. I've never really written creatively. It's quite hard. And I never had the drive to. I wanted to sort of show off Spain and Russia and Iceland, these different places, through my words. So then during the pandemic, all those years ago, my mate Dave, because everyone's got a mate called Dave, he sends me this thing called Furious Fiction, which is a short story competition in Australia. It's like, you got 48 hours, 500 words, here's some keywords, go, and you can like win a prize. And one of the ones I did was called Hikikomori. And Hikikomori is a Japanese social recluse. These are people who sometimes never leave their rooms or houses for days, weeks, months, and even years. So I saw this parallel with how we were enjoying our quarantines. And the idea was that this character called Natsuo, through this mad summer full of typhoons, finally finds reason to leave his house. And that was kind of where it stopped. And I remember my friend Dave said, I like that one. It sounds like the start of a bigger story. So that little seed was set. And through these weird months and other quarantines in those days after the first pandemic, I just continued the story. Um, Often with lots of late nights with a glass of whiskey or some lo-fi music or something. Um, and that short story is basically like the first third of the first chapter. What I didn't expect was letting the story sort of unfurl on its own. I don't really go in for blueprints or much planning. I probably should in future. It decided to descend into Japanese folklore, legends, fairy tales, heaven and hell. So a book which started off as a kind of a social idea converted itself into, I guess, what we would class as more of a fantasy book, all set in Japan. So I wrote it. I patted myself on the back. I sent it to friends to correct my myriad errors, and finally did a sort of a self-published version here with lots of lovely AI art, not in the real one. And that was kind of it. And I was like, this is what I did. Well done. There's my copy. I wrote a story. And then chatting to a guy called David, who runs a bookshop, more on that in a moment, in Madrid, I asked him if he knew anyone who published in English in Madrid. That's where I live. Fortunately, he gave me a couple of options, one of which was a little editorial run by an Irish guy and a Spanish girl, so bilingual, Enda and Maria of Ibernia. And they, for some reason, liked my story. And 8 months later, long story short, we now have the published one with some amazing artwork by a guy called Wayne and other cool bits in between. All throughout the moment that they gave me the green light, I've been pushing it on Instagram. The Gastro Traveler is the name of the channel. So I've been doing readings. I've been doing AI art, which I know is not the most popular thing these days, but I'm not an artist and I can't afford an artist. And I was just putting things onto my Instagram channel, trying to generate some interest in this project, still distantly believing it will happen. And then it did happen. So on March 15th, we had our first official book launch in the Secret Kingdoms bookshop here in Madrid, run by David, as I've previously mentioned. It's a really great shop. They do talks, book clubs, and book launches. So that was where we did ours. It was overstuffed and overbooked, which was wonderful to see. Um, People who I knew, people who the editorial knew, people who were fans of the shop and decided to come by and watch a book launch by a random English guy. We filled it all up. There were wines and nibbles. I was quite nervous because, ironically, having a YouTube channel, I'm not that good at pushing and selling my creative endeavors first person mode because I find it a bit uncomfortable. But it was really cool. Olaf of the Madrid Metropolitan English Language Newspaper was there to give me some questions. We did a little interview. We did a couple of readings, sold a lot of books, signed a lot of books, had a lot more wine. It was a wonderful night. And then recently, in the Madrid and Daracot, my wine shop, in the cave, we did a slightly less official, more informal book launch for people who couldn't make the first one, also friends of the shop, clients, some other friends who were out of town of mine. And it was a wonderful wine-filled event. I did, again, a small presentation about what the book was. Laura also made me a cake with the printout of the front cover of the book on, which was extraordinary. We had sake by the glass, whiskies by the glass. It was an amazing event. So I had these two. I got the official one, and I had the sort of more bacchanal one as well, which is great. So the book is out there. The book is in some shops. The book is on Amazon if you want to buy it. I'll leave links below and all that kind of stuff. And the question now is, what next? The Hikikomori chapter maybe might be put to bed for now. Who knows? Some people have expressed interest in parts of it being continued. Some other characters they want to hear more of. I'm currently about 27,000 words through a different book set both in Spain and Japan. More detective-y, lots of murder. Quite different from the fantasy one here. Anyway, I just want to do YouTube present my book finally. If you're interested, feel free to click the links below. And if you do get it, I hope you enjoy it. It was years of work, and I don't want to be too proud of myself. I kind of am. So if you want to hear more about this or see any more of my travel videos, do the likings and the subscribings, and see you soon.